Here's the team. That's a good one. Yeah, so here's the team. You have to give him my salams when he's next time you see him. Tell him, inshallah, we belong overdue for, to link up. But ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Team Mudar and our last group. No.
So it's so sad to say this is the last group. We've had such an amazing time being here so far. Hearing so many of your plans and ideas on how to regenerate lands that you are personally tied to and connected to is actually really inspiring, especially the magnitude and size of them. So going back to what you said earlier, like we feel motivated to leave here in order to create some change. I do feel that. I feel that, like to be able to just steward a piece of land that particularly has been neglected and to give it a benefit back to others is something that I've never felt more empowered to do. So just to say that coming here to the course, I'm just going to give you a bit of backstory of the project because coming into the course, part of the idea was in order to see what we could do with a neglected piece of land that existed in Islamic cultural space in the mountains of Chiapas. The community is an indigenous community of Muslims who essentially converted to Islam in the 90s through a traumatic event that had happened where they've been displaced from their land. So a lot of these people who originally had a strong connection to the land and growing were displaced and squatting on local lands in Chiapas. So being able to bring back a part of their history and connect their younger generation to that is something that we're really inspired to do. So I'm going to show you a little video of one of the particular members of the community and who we hope to help with this.
So the little girl you guys just saw in the video, she was just like an amazing little soul to see. And once we learned about her story, it was just completely inspiring, and learning about her story was like one of so many in that community. So when Saida, that's her name, was very small, she saw some Muslim girls playing around and they had their hijabs and she thought it was so beautiful. So she asked her mom if she could start wearing hijab. At the time, Saida and her family weren't Muslim. And this little girl at 4 years old decided she wanted to be a Muslim. And from that, her grandma ended up converting to Islam. MashaAllah, subhanAllah. And then from her, Saida's mother ended up becoming Muslim as well. So just a remarkable story as people who are involved in the community. And also, as you saw, that was Saida's mother who was sewing, and her name's Teresa, and then her grandmother as well. So the way that a lot of these people in the community make money, income, is from embordados, the embroidery. As a matter of fact, here we go. All the time. This is from Teresa, by the way. You know?
I love it.
So, they work very hard all day. And so a lot of these people in the community do struggle to feed their families. And Chiapas is one of the most poor states in all of Mexico. So, and that's just, that's kind of just the foundation of what we're working with in the community is people who have very low pay income.
essentially, we're looking at a community of about 300 to 500 people who are minority in the community, and the person that you see in the photo is Sheikh Mudar, he's basically a teacher. He decided to dedicate his life to educating the people who were new to Islam. And Chiapas is particularly interesting because it's the only place in, I believe, Central America that has 3 generations of Muslims living there. So it's got a very strong foundation of spiritual belief. So that's kind of what holds them together. So he went there in order to educate them and to take their knowledge to see where, fulfill his role, as the quote of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, people exchange greetings of peace, free people, strengthen the ties of kinship, and be in prayer when others are asleep. We will enter Jannah in peace. So this opportunity that's come about to create a garden space, we're hoping that we can live into that, as well as be able to facilitate the 3 main goals of the space. So it's to provide an elementary and Islamic education within a Muslim environment, which is something like Sayda, who struggles with in schools.
Yeah, so a lot of the Muslim kids who do go to public school, unfortunately, are bullied because of their differences, and so having them together, all of the Muslim students, is really what this community does, and gives them that support that they really need for each other.
Yeah, as well as being able to just provide financial aid to struggling families as they are in the lowest income part of Mexico, and generally just to raise the morale of Muslims in Chiapas. That's the objective of the Islamic Cultural Center. So, these are essentially some of the challenges that they face individually. I know that clean water is one of despite the amount of rainfall there, clean water is actually a big problem.
Yeah, so the San Cristobal, which is the city that we're working with in Chiapas, is a subtropical climate, so it does actually receive quite a lot of water regularly throughout the year, including in the dry season. However, a lot of that water is not getting to the people, is not getting to the land, because of the Coca-Cola epidemic.
Oh.
So prepare yourselves.
Yeah, you gotta explain that.
Just you wait. Okay, excuse me, just for that. The water is disappearing in San Felipe, an indigenous town 3 miles outside of San Cristobal. In between San Felipe and San Cristobal lies a Coca-Cola bottling plant operating in Mexico, operated by the Mexican FEMSA. The plant consumes over 1.8 million liters of water per day in 2016. So Chiapas has the highest renewable water source per capita in all of Mexico. Yet the tap water here rarely is safe to drink because of sanitization. Plants are they're poorly managed. And the rural areas of Chiapas, more than 1 in 3 people do not have running water. So, so many of the residents actually drink Coca-Cola instead of drinking water, because the Coca-Cola companies have made it cheaper for them to purchase Coca-Cola than water. Yeah.
I don't want to.
Let that one sink in.
Yeah, I know, it's hard to hear.
Yeah.
I don't want to dwell too much on the problems of industrialization, because that's been a thing that we picked up a lot on this course. But it's not just water, it's also simple things just like milk. So there was like a big campaign in the I think it was in the 80s, or I can't remember when it was, that essentially convinced indigenous people that feeding their children powdered milk and milk in general was more healthier than breast milk. So there was like a big stigma attached to them. There's been a lot of people working in the area to try to overcome these, but it just highlights the fact that education is so important, and the importance of this cultural center.
Yes, and so just coming from that, speaking of the health issues that we would hopefully like to be able to help the people with. The mortality rate from diabetes in Chiapas is increasing 30% between 2013 and 2016. So the disease now is second leading cause of death in the state after heart disease, claiming more than 3,000 lives each year. So, and also children under 5, the leading cause of death for them too. I'm sorry to be so.
But again, this is one of the things I've tried to make clear to everybody is that you don't make the problem needing to be addressed something other than what it is.
Yeah.
Because then your problem solving is just going to be wrong because you're not actually dealing with the problem. Like you're trying to make something else. So you got to look it dead in the face.
So basically it's just also these are a lot of indigenous people and just the Coca-Cola being there, the indigenous people's bodies who are used to eating simple foods just weren't able to process the sugar. So
well, inshallah, with the help of designing this garden, we'll be able to help in freeing up some of that stress and educating them, as well as also with their mental health. Because as we said, they were driven off their land originally, so all of them do suffer from trauma. So this idea of creating a garden space is part of what's underlying it. Yeah, so just some of the considerations that we've taken into account of being in this part of Mexico, being at such a high altitude up there, the climate is significantly different to lower down. So it's actually quite fertile and has the opportunity to grow a lot of things that grow in the subtropics. So that's one of the things that we've been considering. The annual rainfall that's what contributes towards it as well. So really being able to harvest that rainwater is going to be something that we're going to be putting into our site design. It's on somewhat of a slope, so the water does run a bit downhill, so we can hopefully be able to work on that as well. But a majority of this is just going to be dealing with the existing concrete dried up soil that exists there. So these are the main garden objectives that we have. So first and foremost is to inspire a sense of community.
So if you take it to the slide with the garden, so I can talk about it.
Okay.
So this is the space that we have, which is so good because it's so close to the masjid. The masjid is right here, and then the imam's house is right here. So this is on this side. So this is the view we're working on. And alhamdulillah, they already have some plants that are growing. They have some wheat over here, aloe vera, and some lettuce over here. But if you see, most of them are like in buckets because the ground is concrete because it was a parking lot before, and so they're trying to use the space. So most of this would be like in buckets or in soils that were put like this. But you can see the concrete if you're looking at it. So what we're thinking of is to take the concrete out and then fill it in with soil, and then kind of rearrange the plants they have already, and then introduce some new plants. We're trying to incorporate the 3 sisters because that's the corn, squash, and beans because they'll work well together. That's on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so
these are like the native plants essentially.
Yes. And we looked up the native plants that they have. They have avocado, squash, maize. Well, you can all the native plants that they have. And then also trying to the issue that we'll probably run into is like with pests or like how to avoid the animals coming. And then the biggest one that we noticed would be mice. And so we're trying to incorporate using mint, lavender, basil. Okay, so we can talk about, so this is kind of what we're trying to propose or how to make use of the space. And if you notice this little holes over here, so they already have, it's kind of on a slope, and this back over here is the forest. So they already have a way of capturing the water with this tiny little hose they have over here. And then with what you were saying about how if you're design the water first before you design the space. Oh, we go back to the yes, this one. So we were planning to use that they already have there, and then we can kind of use the gravels because they already have a lot of gravels on the space, and kind of map out the way we want the water to kind of run through it. And then with that, the water would kind of go where it needs to go. And then we kind of sketched out what we kind of want. So this is a rough imitation of what a corn plant would look like, and then the squash, and then some beans, and they'll be spread out over here.
So a cool part actually of having the corn, squash, and beans, the three sisters, is that a lot of the indigenous farmers before were already doing that. So this would actually be then again reintroducing that cultural aspect to the children, and then also you know, having a more fulfilling diet that they can have for free access here, inshallah. And then also having the native fruits and vegetables that we would also be seeing in the mercados, the markets. So that way, some of this, if there's enough surplus, you know, we can add value to it and perhaps allow them to, I mean, or, you know, have them sell it or can it or dry it. So these here, this is an orange tree, and around, and the jocote tree, which is like a little fruit. I don't know how to explain. Anyways,
it's native to there too, so it'll flourish there.
Yeah, and then we have a
That would be the cacao.
this is the cacao tree. So especially in this specific area, chocolate grows really well. The cacao grows really well. It also serves so many beautiful medicinal purposes. So a lot of this garden is going to be serving like a lot of medical like benefits for them as well. So we also have rosemary and the marigold.
Yes.
That's a good companion plant as well for the fruit trees.
Yes.
So those also have I think good medicinal purposes, especially for the digestive system. So yeah, there's that as well.
And then, so they have the vines over here that we're trying to incorporate and use plants that would grow well with vines. And we're thinking of tomatoes. Tomatoes would grow well on the vines, and it's all over this way. So we'd use that space. Yes, and this side over here. So we'd use that space to grow tomatoes, bell peppers, and cayenne peppers. The ones that will grow well on the vine. And then.
I just want to add something about using a lot of these indigenous plants, is that because there's 3 generations of people living there, like we met somebody called Abu Bakr, which is 100 years old. And he's 100 years old, and he's like probably the oldest Muslim there. And he's got stories for days about how his grandfather used to till the land and all that. So I think just being able to bring them into this kind of adds on to that experiential capital, and just to get them involved and to connect with this idea of their generational past with the new generation, and the fact that a lot of the children that go to the madrasa as well will be able to eat off of this. That was one of the points that I was going to bring up earlier, was that essentially there was a point when the school meals were being offered, but because funding was cut and a lot of these people, the madrasa essentially depends on donations and aid. The decline of the currency, they've been able to afford less, so they weren't able to provide lunch meals anymore. But that would be one of the main objectives, if we could do that with this, just to help, you know, take off some of that stress of donation. That would be great as well. And just to educate the kids and get them all involved, to, you know, just learn. Then so much of what we learned here about how it's connected with our deen, and being able to bring that into their education would be something that just essentially ties them to their roots as well. So, you know, just stronger community.
Did you want to explain the water system?
Oh, yes.
Here?
Oh, I did mention that we're trying to use that.
Okay, yeah. So the water system also does flow this way. To basically so this is the west side of let's just use this picture. I'm so sorry, you guys. This is the west side here, and then this is the east side where the imam's house is.
Yeah. So these are 2 different images. So this would be right here.
Yeah. So alhamdulillah, there's a lot of big beautiful pines that actually protect this whole seen right here from the western sun. And as it is rising and setting, this area here actually gets quite a good amount of sunlight throughout the day. This also, the building here also serves that as a good protector of water evaporation from the sunlight. So we have a water system that actually travels through the rocks here and goes ahead and feeds the trees and also the other bushes down there.
And then one other way I was thinking would be good to incorporate to engage the community is having them, because there's already a big community of there with the Muslims, and they're all engaged and willing to help. So they'll be involved in planting and everything. And then as she mentioned, one of the main sources of income is weaving, embroidery, and pottery. Yes. So I was thinking we could have something of like a raised bed over here that this could change based on in a way to engage the community. They can paint out the murals they want. Kids can be involved, like have little fingerprints or things like that, so that it's a healing space and a comfortable space that they can come and it's a place that it's not just for food, but they can just come and just unwind, heal, be there, relax.
And I just want to add to this. So like a lot of the stuff when we're going to be doing all the soil excavation, and I'll have my own shovel like digging it out. A lot of things that we find that could be used to make these beds, so we don't really need to go elsewhere for a lot of that.
And then another way I was thinking, this wall right over here, it's for the neighbors, but we were thinking if we could ask them to make like a mural so that the entrance is kind of this way and you can see like paintings or names of all the fruits that all the veggies and fruits and everything you're going to have here will just all be pasted here when you're coming in. So it's kind of like a fun little signage.
And that's a good way as well of getting to know the community, because
Yes.
that wall doesn't belong to us, so we're going to have to ask permission.
And then in talking about zonings, so they have a shed that's already here where all the tools are. So we're planning on, because that's on this side of the wall, we're planning on relocating it to be on this side so that we could use more of this side for planting and for planting.
That's peak sunlight area.
Yeah, so that's a good area. And then this would be closer to the imam's house, yeah. And then
We talk about surplus. Like what would we be doing with it? Like one way that we could add value is like further down in like maybe year 5 or 6 when we have a lot of these trees growing around the edges, because there is a lot of space down here that we don't have photos of. The surplus of those could be used to make higher added value things that could be sold to tourists who are coming into the community. Because one of the things that we want to be able to do is encourage like spiritual retreats here. There's a lot of people, I'm sure, but hopefully you guys yourself will come down and help out. And so there's been a lot of interest of people wanting to go there, and we just want to be able to facilitate that and to have products that they grow on the land that they could take away with them that's been made by the people there is just a way of keeping Lima connected.
I just wanted to add one more thing because you're talking about the neighbors. The neighbors on another side, you can't see it in these photos, actually owns chickens. So we're also thinking of having those chickens, asking him if we could borrow the chickens, let them go frolic around on.
It's a frolic.
Yeah, you know, just go out and do what they do.
Yes.
Hopefully.
Purposeful frolic.
Yes, exactly. Just go ahead and
Purposeful frolic.
help us with our soil. Yeah.
The water catching?
oh yeah, that's what I
from
was
the
saying, with
roofs?
the roof side,
Yeah.
if you could, with the roof,
I don't know. Oh yeah, this one?
yes.
Well, it's pretty wide. I don't have it.
Okay, so the roof, it's pretty spacious too, and with Maria talking about how to conserve water, so we're thinking of having like tanks there that, and because it rains a lot too, it's the raining season I believe is from November to, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it rains a lot too, so that'll be a good way to capture the water and filter it so that they have like drinking water, not Coca-Cola.
And just being able to filter it and
Yes,
the UV lights so that they can maybe come with their little buckets and just take it with them.
Yes.
That'd be a nice thing.
Yeah, so we were thinking of having a solar panel UV UV system that
You said
sanitizes,
can purify water.
purifies the water.
Yeah, it'll probably be the most expensive thing that we
Yeah.
raise money for.
But also probably one of the bigger, most important projects too.
Exactly.
Trying to save every drip of water.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Ria.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then also in using the solar panels that you mentioned, we'll hopefully use it also to power the masjid or whatever you need there to.
That could cut down the cost as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to double check if we got all of these. Yeah. I mean, so that's basically it. Just food to feed the soul.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's the point. And
Yeah.
you know, you're all welcome to come down and get your hands dirty. And
Mhm.
you know, Rio's already there. So.
Inshallah, we're
Have
happy.
your waterman over there.
That's it. That's your guy.
Yeah.
That is your guy.
So thank you, and you know, may Allah bless all of us in our endeavors.
Allahumma ameen.
And yeah, maybe we can be a benefit to the world.
So that's those are all for the projects. I want to give a chance for everybody to take a brief break, and then we'll just wrap up. Just take 10 minutes, and then and I just want to go through the last couple of things from the last chapter in the book, and then we'll close out.
Oh, we're not breaking for lunch. I thought we were.
You know, no, that's right here. Yeah, thank you.